let's get started with, again, how to use text messaging and marketing to attract and retain customers. My name, again, is Laura Nelson. I am the VP of Marketing at Signpost. My info is here, so feel free to reach out to me anytime after this webinar. So again, let's get started. So we're going to cover a few things today, starting with this agenda. I'm going to first talk about text broadly and why it is such a powerful channel for you to communicate with and market to prospects and customers. I'm then going to cover types of messages to send customers and prospects. I know a lot of people are sold on the why of text messaging, but aren't too sure of what they want to say. Next, I'm going to talk about examples and best practices. So all of the things to consider when you are putting together those messaging sequences. And then finally, touch on tools and technology to manage your messaging. Before we get into the technical aspects of text messaging and marketing, I first want to just step back and talk about today's consumers. They are a demanding bunch. And if you think about it, we are all consumers, right? So we have some characteristics in common. Perhaps you can relate to some of these characteristics, right? Today's consumers are impatient. They're seeking convenience, yet they are well connected. And I want you to keep that in mind as we talk about text messaging and its immediacy and benefits for you as a business owner to reach that target customer. What's more, I think this one is particularly interesting. Today's consumers check their phone on average 344 times per day. So if you're wondering where any of these stats come from, and I know I had a question about that in the Q&A, I will always source that in the lower left. And these are easy to Google as well, but really important and really compelling argument for the importance of text messaging and marketing. You know, we are glued to our mobile devices, and text is a really easy way, you know, for you as a business owner to reach people. So moving on, let's talk about why text is that powerful channel. Starting with the stat on the left, 98% of text messages are read. So this is greater than 4 times the email open rate. You might have experimented with email in the past. You might be doing that today. You know, we certainly do here at Signpost. It's an important channel to reach our customers where they are and to find new ones. But what's really compelling about text messages is that the open rate is overwhelmingly better than it is for email. Next, these text messages get read. In fact, 90% of people are reading their texts within 3 minutes of receiving them. So that level of immediacy provided by text marketing and text messaging is, you know, far exceeds email or any other channel. Third, 85% of customers prefer receiving text messages from a business rather than phone call or email. So that level of preference is overwhelming as well. But it kind of makes sense, right? If you think about how many messages you're sending day to day, are you making more phone calls or are you sending more text messages? If you have a smartphone, my guess is the latter, that you're sending more text messages than you are receiving or making phone calls. So that really falls in line with this stat on what consumers prefer in terms of their communication with businesses like yours. So all of these together really sum up, you know, why this is a really important channel. And since you're here today, I'm pretty sure that, you know, you have already seen that or realized that already. A few more reasons, right? These are the overall arching arguments for using text. You know, I mentioned this just a second ago, that it is a very immediate way to reach people. It's convenient too. It's not convenient not only for your consumers, but also for you as business owners, to quickly reach someone. It's low cost. If you have the right tools and technology in place, it can be a very cost-effective program to reach clients or to reach some of your prospects. Additionally, it outperforms other channels. I talked about the comparison of open rate to email, and there's no contest that you're much more likely to see a text message read than you are an email message. Ultimately, this can help you drive more revenue. It's all about meeting that consumer where she is in time and meeting her preferred channel of communication. So these are the compelling reasons why we consider, or we want you to consider, when you create a text messaging or marketing campaign. So next, I'm going to get into the what of it all, right? You might already be sold on why text messaging is important. I'm going to give you a few scenarios that businesses of all types can consider. And of course, we are talking with a number of types of, different types of businesses today. So I really want you to, think about what is right for your business and take some of the other ideas that might not apply with a grain of salt or put them on the back burner. So let's go through some of the ways that you can use text to reach that prospect or client. This is a popular one, appointment confirmations. You probably have received one for a type of business you've done business with already. We've seen this a lot, the big uptick in adoption for this type of text communication. In fact, the example on the left is one that I received from a collision shop, simply reminding me of my upcoming appointment to get my car fixed. So pretty standard, pretty what we call operational, and a nice reminder where I can see this quickly and easily. I've got another example on the right side of a similar nature that just lets the recipient know that, hey, you've got this appointment. Let us know if you plan to come. And then with the confirmation from the sender, where they are located. So again, quick and easy way of reminding that customer or that client of their upcoming appointment. Next, there's another class of messages that I like to call maintenance reminders. So if you're a service business and certain things happen like at certain seasons, you can leverage text to provide some value and of course remind someone that it might be a good opportunity to interact with your business. So you see this often with, say, an auto appointment, right? Like there are certain intervals, mileage, season otherwise, where we might need to take in our cars. I bring up season because, of course, in Colorado here, many of us change our tires both in the winter and the spring to accommodate the change in weather. So that might be a scenario you think about reminding your customers that, hey, it's time to do something and take action. But I've got another example of, another type of maintenance that you might have for, a homeowner, right? And again, these are different examples for different industries, but ways that you can remind people that, hey, like this is a time when, it might be a good idea to schedule a service. However, you don't always have to drive them to an appointment, right? There are scenarios where you might just want to, remind people to change their humidifier, change their filter, right? As seasons change, and make sure that their homes are set up the way they should be, or the HVAC system is within their homes. So there are ways to provide value without necessarily asking for that appointment. It might inspire people to schedule that maintenance, but I know not in all scenarios that is required. Next, I want to touch on promotions. So you probably received a number of these, and I've got a number of or a couple examples here, but there is a whole world of options, when it comes to promotions. You may be familiar with some of these lists already, right? Michael's on the left. I get a lot of emails from them. They have heavy promotional cycles, and you can see this particular one is around a holiday. So if you're the type of business that runs promotions or celebrates certain holidays and shares that with the clients, that's a way that you can get a text message in front of people. The example on the right, if you run contests from time to time, if you want people to enter, through a form online, this is a great and easy way to get that message in front of them. So again, lots of different types of promotions that you can run, and obviously they will vary by your business type. But I just wanted to share a couple of examples that we've seen out there, that might work and might be appropriate for your business. Scheduling and coordination. This is a big category, right? And this can often happen on what we call the front end of interacting with the prospect. Perhaps they aren't a customer yet, and you are leveraging text to get them into your marketing and sales funnel, to get them to become a customer with you, right? To leverage the channel to drive more revenue. So here's a couple options. I happen to pull them from the Signpost platform. And, for us, texts can come in through a dedicated number. They can also be originated on our web chat tool. Either way, that end customer who's making a request has a similar experience. You probably get a lot of inquiries like these where people are asking about the type of products you have, the type of services that you offer, and you need to know a few more details or know a little more about your availability before they schedule an appointment. So our recommendation is open your channels, open text channels to ensure that people have more doors to walk through, to ensure that you are making it easy for that discerning customer to book an appointment. So that covers up scheduling and coordination. I'm sure you probably do a lot of that via text, in your own day-to-day lives with other people or with businesses too. The last category I'm going to cover here is requests for online reviews. So if you're a Signpost customer, you might have used this feature already. Obviously, you can do this in a number of ways through Signpost or through your own messaging channels. But text is an amazing way to reach that customer immediately and improve your chances of getting the online review. So here's just an illustration of what that looks like. Many of you may be used to doing this by email, but platforms like Signpost make this easier, more immediate, and of course, get that message, onto your customer's phone and into their hands so that they can take the next step and leave you that amazing feedback, for the services that you provide. So I hope that gives you a little bit of inspiration on what you can potentially say in a text campaign, either to your prospect audience or to your current customers. Lots of things that you can do, lots of things that you can consider. And obviously a lot of it depends on, the types of customers that you're serving, the type of product or service that you are selling. So I highly recommend that you take a look around at some of the great examples you see across other industries and determine what makes sense for you. I would also highly encourage you to measure some of the results that you're getting. If you're seeing a lot of interaction with your messages, that's a good sign. It shows that your audience is receptive to text as a channel. However, if you're seeing a lot of unsubscribes, that's a signal that people aren't particularly liking the content that they see. So my recommendation there would be to dial back and reconsider what you're doing. That kind of leads me to the next section in this conversation, which is all around best practices for sending text messaging and marketing. So let's go through some of these, because while this is a high potential channel for getting your message across into marketing to prospects and customers, there are some considerations that you do need to be aware of in these interactions. First, be thoughtful in your approach. I know this is kind of obvious, but I want to point this out that it is super important that you have a strategy going in, and that you're not sending messages that are more appropriate for, say, an email or for a phone call through text messaging. We find that messages with a very specific goal in mind tend to work best, when they come across in text. Whether it is providing more information about services, sending a scheduler, or following up for an online review, you don't want to have, a lengthy conversation, send paragraphs of information via text when another channel would be more appropriate. Next, this one is super important because there are specific laws around sending text messages. So, when you are marketing via text messaging, you need to gain express written consent from your recipients. So how we see that happen in reality is, you have to provide a specific opt-in mechanism for people receiving your marketing messaging. Some people opt in to receive discounts because they want to see seasonal messaging and reminders. There are lots of mechanisms you can do to make sure that people are opting in the right way, but this is a critical step that you cannot miss. And the reason for that is that there are federal laws and there are state laws behind this, that require that written consent. You may be familiar with the federal law TCPA. It is set up to protect consumers. And, it's really important as a business to follow these. If you do not, if you are in violation, you are subject to fines. So it is important to become aware of that. Additionally, different states, such as Florida, and I think more recently Oklahoma, have their own rules and regulations around texting and interacting with customers via text. So I highly recommend that you check with your legal counsel if you are unsure. I am not a lawyer, so please do not take my words as the final say. The rules and regulations are slightly different across some of the states. So when in doubt, check with legal counsel, but be aware there are specific rules about opting into text messaging. Finally, don't overdo it. I talked about unsubscribes a minute or two ago, and what we find is when we see high unsubscribe rates, it's usually because a business has perhaps overdone it on this channel. There is a fine line between being helpful, informative, providing something of value to that customer, and spamming them. We do not like to see a lot of spam, in our text messaging folder. So what I recommend you all consider is to start small, when it comes to text messaging and marketing, and again, figure out what's right for your business, but don't try to boil the ocean all at once. So again, those are just some of the top best practices to keep in mind. And if you are a signpost customer, please feel free to reach out to your account manager and determine what makes sense for your business and ensure that you are following the rules and regulations in your state. We'd be happy to provide you with the information that we have. If you're not a Signpost customer, I'll provide you with a way to get in touch. So if you have further questions on that, obviously feel free to send them our way. In the final section here, I want to talk about our specific tools for text messaging and marketing that you could consider using. If you are a Signpost customer, you may well be aware of the launch of our messaging hub. This is available on desktop and mobile, and it makes it super easy for you to engage with prospects and customers in text, across your devices. What's great too about this capability is that it separates your work from your personal life. It's probably confusing and it could be a little overwhelming if you have people texting your personal number and you're trying to keep those identities separate, right? Like your personal relationships and your relationships with your clients. So that's where apps like Signposts can be incredibly helpful, not only with organization, but also just centralizing messaging on an app, on a desktop platform, and bringing in other critical messaging as well. So you may not be aware that we can pull in text messaging and also Facebook messaging, Home Advisor leads, soon to be Google messaging as well. And we continue to add more and more platforms so that you have one place to go for these messages and not 50 places to log in each and every day, when it comes to interacting with prospects and customers. So something to consider, right? Just saw the message from Laura Thornton. Google will be a game changer. We are so excited for that too. So I'm glad that you point that out. If you are a local business that doesn't use Google messaging, go into your Google business profile, set up Google messaging, because what's really powerful about that capability within Google, and by the way, this is free, is people can text message you right from your Google business listing. So when they get that recommendation from a friend or family member, or if they find you in a search, they can message you right then and there without going through the friction of the phone call, of your web form, etc. So we are excited to bring that integration into the messaging hub and further deliver on that promise of making it like a one-stop shop for all of your messaging. So thanks for pointing that out, Laura. Another benefit of text that I've kind of mentioned before in the terms of its convenience and its immediacy is this idea of instant response. And I want to touch on this in particular for the Signpost product, because I think it's really cool. I'll give you a couple examples of how that works. If you set up our missed call integration, you can immediately send a text to the person who called, right? And get them into a text conversation when you are unavailable to take a phone call. The same is true for Home Advisor leads. We all know that speed to lead is super important. And if you want to shoot off a text message to a lead as soon as it comes in and improve your chances of closing on that lead, you will have that power with the Signpost platform. As I mentioned a minute ago, you will have that capability, with Google and with other platforms too. So that makes text all the more powerful when it comes to, communicating with those leads that you want to win and keeping that ongoing conversation with your customers, throughout the journey of, working with them and serving them. So I want to pause for Q&A. Please feel free to use the chat tool. I know I went through a lot of material today, and it is a bit like, drinking from the fire hose, but I just wanted to whet your appetite and share with you like some of the ways or some of the classes of messages that you can use to text with prospects and customers, and some of the considerations that you have as well. If you are not a Signpost customer, we have an amazing offer for June, and you can simply take a picture or hold your camera up to that QR code if you'd like to request more information. You'll be connected with Robin Nichols. He's our product specialist, and he can walk through all of the possibilities that concern text messaging and some of the other features in the Signpost platform. So that offer is available if you book a demo today. I will qualify, you don't have to have the demo today, but just get that on the calendar so that you're eligible for that discount. So now I'll open up to questions. Feel free to use that chat, and I will tackle these one by one. So Scott Cooperman asks, the biggest obstacle is building a list. I have thousands of contacts, but only 2 or 3 who have subscribed to texting. This is a very common issue, right? Oftentimes, we see customers that have built a list over time, and then texting comes along. This is a whole new channel to communicate, and yet we only have people who we only have a select few who have opted in. So this is not the easiest problem to solve, I will admit. And I think what happens, or what works best here, is offering something or some reason for people to opt in. I will borrow from other industries, if I might, since I don't know which industry you are in, Scott. But the things that get me as a consumer to opt in generally revolve around a discount and the right expectation setting. So I'll give you an example. I opt in to certain products and services if I know I'm getting a discount, right? So they say opt into our text messaging and marketing. They set an expectation on how often I'm going to get a message, and then deliver a promo code. So I've seen that really work really well in some consumer industries. You're a painting contractor. Thanks for sharing that. And so that's an interesting avenue in that people don't need a painting job every month or every season. My recommendation for you, Scott, is to get people to opt in at the beginning of the job. Specifically ask them, hey, would you like to opt into text messaging updates, throughout the job, throughout us working together. And that way, I think you could establish at the beginning that, hey, either they'll be getting updates, they'll be getting progress, et cetera, and set their expectations throughout. I think in your case, it may be a little difficult to go back and to remarket to past customers. However, you might have customers who have a future need. So you might consider deploying an email campaign like, hey, this is our loyalty program for past customers. You are entitled to X promotion as just an example, but you must opt in to this text. So that's one of the things that I might consider trying to get more people engaged with me through that channel. But great question. Follow-up question from Scott. We are integrating. The question now is about Google messaging. And in fact, and I'll read this out loud. I have Google messaging now, but seem to be getting a lot of scammers contacting me. That's a great point. And that's why a lot of our customers use our instant responders. They help kind of filter out some of that spam. So if you are not using your own time to manually respond, you can create that custom response to help further qualify that customer. I'm sorry to hear that you're getting a lot of scammers on there. It is an increasingly popular channel, and I guess comes with the territory, but I guess, my recommendation would be to use that instant response to ensure that it's an actual legit inquiry before you spend a lot of your own time responding. You're welcome. Any further questions? I'm happy to hang around on the chat. Really appreciate all your time in joining and in asking questions. Again, you can reach me. My email address is lnelson@signpost.com. I lead the marketing team. If you're interested in seeing more what product can do for you, reach Robin Nichols. And of course, that's if you're not currently partnered with Signpost. If you are, please reach out to your account manager. He or she can give you a lay of the land on what's new with the product, get you set up in our messaging hub, and make sure that you're opening text as a way of communicating with prospects and customers that can be constructive for your business. I'll pause just for a couple moments if you have additional questions. Otherwise, really appreciate your engagement. Thanks again for joining, and I hope this was helpful. We will be following up in the next day or so with the recording. So have a great rest of your day and week, and we will be talking to you soon.